This week on DORiS, we'll be interviewing Andrew Bradshaw. Andrew is the newly elected mayor of Cambridge, Maryland. At 31 years old, he is the youngest person to hold that seat. He is a forward-thinking businessman, a civically engaged community leader, a volunteer firefighter, and a big Sinatra fan. Mayor Bradshaw will also be a featured panelist on the upcoming WHCP radio series, Town Hall, which premieres Wednesday, February 3rd at 11 a.m. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. What's up, guys? You're listening to DORiS Radio on WHCP 101.5. I'm Marco.
I'm Maya.
I'm Andrew Bradshaw.
And what's up? This is our first episode of season 8, guys. How we feeling?
Feeling good, feeling good.
We did it.
Yeah. So we've been sitting here chit-chatting it up. We've been talking about how evil Apple is, and we're composing our hate letters for Tim Cook. But outside from that, how's everybody feeling today?
Wonderful.
Feeling good.
Hey. Yeah, me too, man. It's been a while since our last show, and we're excited to be coming back, starting on. We got Mayor Bradshaw with us, and who have you got to play for us today?
We're going to be listening to some Frank Sinatra. Going to be kicking it old school for a little while.
Nice,
so
nice.
Really going to have a good time today. Listen to some classics and have some great discussions.
Sweet, dude. I'm excited, man. We love some Frank, and we're ready to get into it. So let's start with, I don't know where y'all want to go.
Let's talk about the change.org petition that I'm starting when the show comes to an end here today to be sent to Apple with what's going on here with this technology.
I have a conspiracy theory that when new products come out, they're slowing down the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
My phone will just stop for no reason.
It's like every time there's an update.
Guys, I'm like, they're doing this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And some background of why we're talking about this. I've got my phone here. I had some information on it. We were going to talk about it, have a good time, on the show. And then about 3 minutes before we, went on air, the phone started going blank. It's flashing the Apple sign at me. It's coming up that I've got to restore it and totally reset everything. And I've got 3,000 pictures on here. I guess I'm going to lose if I can't figure this thing out.
And no cloud.
No cloud.
That's terrifying.
That was the
right
mistake.
there.
That was the mistake. I didn't put it on the cloud. You see, now I know. Live and learn.
I recommend Google. I love me some Google. They're lifesavers. And I feel like they're not trying to slow us down the way Apple does. Android users don't seem to have those same struggles that we go through.
Not at all.
I want to point out that neither Google nor Apple underwrite this program or
yeah.
the station.
Shout out to both of them.
The views expressed are those of the hosts only and not of WHCP. So,
Man, today it's been a crazy day. I mean, and you have had a super crazy day. Aside from being the mayor of Cambridge, and all of the work that goes into that, he's also a volunteer firefighter. And just today, you want to tell us about your morning?
Yeah, so I took a trip to Baltimore yesterday to do some work that is city related actually, and it ran kind of late. Got dinner afterward and got home about 12 o'clock this morning, and I was looking forward to like sleeping in on my Sunday, getting ready for the radio show, coming in and being rested and ready to go. But the day doesn't always go the way you want it to, right? So we got called out at 8 o'clock this morning to go assist with a house fire that was pretty devastating. There'll be some information online, but a family lost their house. They've got a 1-year-old child. If you go on the Mayor Andrew Bradshaw Facebook page, I'm going to have some information going up shortly about who you can reach out to help support these people. But definitely a sad and devastating thing, and not how you want to start your Sunday morning. But it's part of what we do in this community, and one of the benefits that we have as a close, tight-knit community. You've got a volunteer fire service here that, when something bad happens, people drop what they're doing to come and help their neighbors. And I think it really speaks to the level of respect that people in Cambridge have for their community, for their neighbors, and the willingness they have to go above and beyond and take a risk, on their own life to help the lives of others.
I I
That's
commend you,
incredible.
man. Yeah, it's like that's like the most the truest example of community and being there for one another, having each other's back. I just last year my house burned down, and it was one out of the situation. What I remember the most is that feeling of being very taken aback by the sense of community, looking around and seeing Mayor Bradshaw, I saw my old English teacher, I saw classmates, seeing people who have put their lives on pause to come and be of aid to you is something that is very humbling. And I commend you guys for all the work you do. You know, it's just crazy to think like you have all this other stuff going on, and then you have to like just drop on a dime and go put your life in danger. And that is it's a true sense of what it means to really be there and care about your community and be there for each other.
In a city like Cambridge, it's even more, I think, impactful because it does end up oftentimes being people that that you're coming to serve, and you may not know it when you go out there. I had met you several times prior to that event, and we'd had some great conversations. And then I find out subsequently that that was Marco's house that we were at, and not only was it your house, but my lieutenant on my engine, it was the house he grew up in as well. So there were the memories and things like that. It's very impactful when you put a face to the issues that are faced, when you're going out there and helping people in those situations.
That's crazy, man. I am super excited to about where we are as Cambridge, as the city. We got people like you out here fighting for us and
Modern day superheroes.
modern day superheroes. For real.
I've said I don't think I'm a hero, but I'm surrounded by them. When we go do that, and I can't speak highly enough for the guys that just, like you said, put their lives on pause for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to go help a neighbor. It means a lot.
What is something that you do to, I guess, level out from those sorts of high excitement, whatever you call that? What do you do to maintain a sense of equilibrium and balance mentally? Because I feel like that's a lot of strain.
It is. I try to, when I get home, just take some time, think about it, run through in my mind, learn lessons, for the next time that you've got to go and do something like that. Play through where you think you can maybe make improvements, kind of coach yourself, right? But then once you get past that point, you got to just kind of let that out of your mind for a while and find whatever it is that you do to relax. Some people go hunting, some people go fishing, some people read. I like to read. What got me into the fire department was volunteering for the train garden, which is entering its 87th year, and that's a form of relaxation. You go up there, when it's not open to work on things, and you're in this building that's been there for nearly 100 years. You're surrounded, I think, by the ghosts of those that came before you in some ways, and it really connects you to the history of this community, to the history of that organization, but also to the future of this community and of that organization. And I think for someone that kind of likes to look at things in that perspective, it is very humbling, but it's also a way to connect.
Yep. Sweet, man. What's something that you're reading right now?
So I'm actually reading, having been elected, I've always had kind of heroes, political heroes, right? And people that have been able to take crisis and find their finest moment in crisis, even if you don't agree with their politics or with their beliefs, but they're able to overcome, whatever flaws they may have within themselves in that moment of crisis. So right now I'm reading a book that's called The Splendid and the Vile, and it's a bio of Winston Churchill, but it is specifically about Churchill from when he was named prime minister in 1940 to the end of the London Blitz in 41, 42. And it's very different from most biographies regarding wartime leadership. It stays away from the politics, and it talks a lot about the personal experiences, of his family, his staff. It draws from the journals primarily of staff, and talks not about what it was like to be in the room when an important decision was made, but rather how they were able to find an escape in what was one of the darkest times in the world's history, the early Second World War. So it's a very exciting and very different kind of history book, and it's pretty fun.
I think that's really profound, and I find that it to be useful because outside, like you said, not focusing on the political part. That's something that's useful outside of the political spectrum. The coming together, the overcoming part of that story has a universal aspect to it, and so I think coming at his Winston Churchill from that angle opens it up to people to look at him from other perspectives, and then we're able to learn from it in new ways.
It humanizes a person who's kind of lionized in history as this strong leader. One of the big takeaways that I've taken from it is following an important or a profound moment. Churchill, we look at him as this strong leader. He would go and find somewhere, and he'd shed tears. He would cry because of the emotional or psychological impact of the moment. He wasn't scared to be seen with that kind of moment of weakness amongst his peers and his family, and I think that's profound, right?
Yeah.
Own your humanity when you need to.
That's so important, and that's why I was curious about how you maintain, because like you say, we see these people and like they're doing these incredible feats, and it's like, how do you go about balancing that on the effect that the toll that it can take on the mental health,
right?
And I think having that transparency, showing that it is okay to let yourself feel those things and not try to block it for the sake of the holding up the facade,
right?
And like things like that. Knowing that that's not something I knew about Winston Churchill. I definitely would subscribe to the line of history, and so knowing that he had those moments, those vulnerable moments of being able to maintain and self-care, I think that gives you another way of looking at viewing what it means to be a lion of history, what it means to be mighty and strong.
It's certainly, learning that certainly means a lot to me because when I get a little bit weak thinking about things or have a moment where it becomes very emotionally overwhelming after an experience, I'll admit right now on air that I'll shed a tear sometimes when there's a moment of great gravity that it's occurred, and knowing that some of the people that we look at as the strongest willed individuals in our past have been able to do the same and maintain. It means a great deal.
Man, I think that's awesome. That's a great transition into some music.
Absolutely.
And balancing out, because as this title says, that's life, guys. And tell us about this next track. Why'd you pick this particular Frank Sinatra song?
So, this is one of the Sinatra songs that talks about what it means to be human, right? This is one that's sometimes you're kicked when you're down. Sometimes, others try to use you. Sometimes, but you're also able to overcome. Sometimes you're at the top of the mountain, and sometimes you are, down in the mud. But overall, you're able to make it through. And as the title says, that's life.
So, Mr. Bradshaw, I have a question. What is your plan for the recent spike of violence in Cambridge?
It's a really difficult problem to address, and it's a hard problem to address quickly, right? Because the issues of violence, it's not something where you can just say, we're going to throw a little money at this problem, we're going to put one or two more police officers on the street. This stuff happens not when, a cop's driving by. This stuff happens, and then police respond. So it's reactionary to the problem that exists. And I think a lot of what it comes back to is a lack of respect that exists between individuals about what what the gift is of life, right? There is no greater gift in this world than to be living your life, right? So one of the things that I've talked about, and I'm hoping that we can start implementing, is a kind of a violence mediation program that would take individuals who have a background in the streets, who are people that are respected by the individuals that are out there and that are living in the community, to have them be able to reach out and find ways to mediate the conflicts and get people at the table to solve those conflicts in productive fashions instead of turning to the violence in a fit of emotional rage. It's a difficult thing to do, right? But if you take people who have been out there and have experienced it themselves, it's a much more easy thing for those in those moments to respect, rather than somebody that shows up. And let's be honest, we can respect people that have a degree in an area like conflict mediation or that, have a psychology background. All that's very good. But if you don't understand what it is to live in the community, to be, facing the kinds of things that these individuals are facing, it's not something that's going to be productive or move things forward. In Baltimore, they had a program running called Safe Streets, and it was individuals who had had a background in things like drug dealing, gang behavior, and things like that, but that had found that wasn't the answer for their lives or for their city. And so they now are able to talk the talk and be out there in the community. And that's important, right? And what we see in Cambridge is that a great deal of the violence occurs, in underprivileged communities that have economic issues. And by and large, these are African American communities, unfortunately, because of the marginalization that they've seen over the course of 50, 60, 70, and 100 years in the city of Cambridge. So taking people who understand the community and allowing them to find answers to these issues. Maybe some of them are religious leaders because there's a great deal of respect for these leaders in the community. But by and large, a lot of these people that are going to have to be involved are going to have to be people that are just, respected because they're known and because they are a voice for the people of the city of Cambridge. You start doing that, and you start bringing a respect back for one another and for life, and policing issues go away. Solving the crimes, it's easier to solve crimes when you've got 10 to solve and not 35.
Yeah.
So hopefully that kind of program could alleviate some of the issues that exist as far as police force numbers and things like that as well. It's no perfect answer by any means, but actually looking at it from a what leads to the violence perspective rather than a what do we do afterward to try to solve the violence perspective. I think that's you got to look at the cause and you've got to find the answer to the cause.
I think that's awesome, man. Having that sense of relatability, I feel will make the message a lot more impactful, and also it creates that it brings understanding to the situation, and having that allows people to be more vulnerable and more willing to hear what someone's got to say.
That's exactly right, and I think you have people who again have the experience, have the knowledge, have the life experiences. That's so huge, right? Because I can theorize why someone did something, or I can think I understand it based upon a study that I read or a paper that was published in some academic journal. But none of that compares to actually having the life experience to say, no, this is the motivation that was in my mind, my brother's mind, my cousin's mind, my best friend's mind when they perform the same act. So, knowledge is what helps there, and it doesn't have to be academic knowledge. It has to be interpersonal human knowledge.
Yep. Man, that's exciting. That's exciting. What are there any updates or things that people should know about, or ways that we can get people involved with that?
So, this is really early stages. I'm trying to study, again, what's worked in other communities. Yeah. And that was one of the things I ran on. sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We can take what's worked in our peer communities across the state and across the region and tweak it to fit the needs that exist in Cambridge. Look to what succeeds elsewhere and fit it to us, right? So early on studying that and trying to get that moving forward. But I think one of the things that's important to me as mayor, and I think to this entire council coming in, which is entirely new, is really improving community engagement. I think Maya, you've been very good with Millennials Demanding Change, getting people involved.
I've seen you in the neighborhoods and different communities. You're there. You were present.
And that's important, right? People respect a leader who is, as you said, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And it's important, but then also having leaders that appreciate what others can bring to the table. We want to move Cambridge forward. There are 6 elected officials in the city, and we can only do so much. One of the things that we really want to do and hope to do is to engage the population more and more. So it's not 6 of us on an island fighting for the city of Cambridge. It's 50, and then it's 100, and then it's 500, and it's 1,000, because you get that citizen engagement, and you take the citizens and you find where their strengths are. Some people are stronger at this issue than that issue, and some have the ability to write very well. Others are much better at sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation. But together, we can actually move the city forward by taking the strengths of everybody and putting everyone in a position where we can, as we talked about in the first segment, have the community come out to help one another. Not everyone's got to ride a fire truck, but what will make Cambridge succeed is bringing everyone to the table to be part of the solution, whether it's just grabbing your neighbor's mail when they're out of town, or it's helping an older woman or an older man cross the street. Whatever it may be, find your strength and be part of the solution for Cambridge, because this place will succeed once we have that engagement on the part of everybody.
Most definitely. It's so great to have that, because it comes from the top. And so seeing you guys be so involved in the community just motivates others in the community to be like, oh, this is what we need to do. This is how we got to come at it.
Right.
And I think that when you guys did the trash pickup with the watering company, that was really, really cool. And it's cool to see the numbers of people coming out and the amount of garbage that was collected that was able.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
All of just people volunteering, and because you're driving people to say, like, caring about your neighbors and getting involved and being there for each other is important. And the impact to see what that has when it's coming from our leadership is it's really cool. It makes you feel good. It feels like we can really make a change around here.
Right. That you bring that up, and that leads to kind of a funny story. So I set that up as a New Year's Day cleanup with Shore Rivers. Matt Pluta is actually a neighbor of mine, and they do some really good things, right? And I thought about the fact that we could kind of set a different path forward and use the symbolism of doing it on New Year's Day to make it really impactful, mentally and emotionally and socially for people, because they could say, hey, look, this is about, it's kind of like a New Year's resolution without being a resolution, right? And so the day of the cleanup, after we had gotten everyone set up and moving along, I drove over and parked at the Empowerment Center on Pine Street. And I went out in front of there and started picking up, and there were some little Fireball bottles and things like that. And there was a guy that was parked in a pickup truck, and he asked me, he said, hey, son, let me ask you a question. I said, what can I do for you, man? And he said, you work for the city or something? They got you out here cleaning up? I said, no, man. I said, I'm the new mayor. He said, you're the mayor? I said, yeah. He said, what are you doing out here picking up trash? I said, well, somebody's got to do it. And it might as well be me to set the example for the community that no one's bigger than giving back to the community. And he got a laugh, and he said, you all ought to have staff out here instead. I said, well, you know what? I said, maybe at some point in the future, we won't have to have staff out here or me doing it, because people will see, the beauty that exists in their community, and they'll take the moment to be part of the solution, building a beautiful and a welcoming Cambridge.
Yeah, cleaning up will become the new norm.
Right, that's exactly
Maintaining
right.
The beauty of it.
But it took him back that, like, this guy just got elected mayor, and he's out here picking up trash on his Saturday. What is this guy doing? But it was like, you do what's right for the community, and others will see it, and it will be impactful. If I was just random citizen picking up trash, I'm gonna be like, that guy's a little crazy. Why is he picking up trash? But now, you see the mayor. We had, I think, 3 or 4 of the commissioners were there. It meant a lot to people to see, these people not just showing up to the council meeting on Monday night, holding a vote on 3 things and then going home, but being that bought into the future of Cambridge that they're going to give up their weekend day and go get dirty for a little while.
Man, that feels good. That feels good. I like where we at, y'all. And let's see what this next track is giving us. Tell us about song number 2.
So this is in the wee small hours of the morning, and this one's not about overcoming anything. This one is just, I don't know, it's a very emotional track to me. I've got a soft side, and I've had, a few relationships that left me lying awake in the wee small hours of the morning wondering about things, and, I'm in a very happy and very committed relationship with a young lady now, and, hoping to move things forward here soon with that. But, the language and the feeling in the wee small hours of the morning just still speaks to me all the time. It's a very emotionally powerful song from Frank, I think. Samaya, over the break we were talking, and you had said that you met my mother recently. Why don't you tell me about that?
I met your mom the day of the election. I was pulling in and I saw her just cheering on with your sign out front. And I told her how well-spoken you are and that she did an amazing job raising you. And she looked down and saw my mermaid tattoo on my arm. And she told me, like, we just bonded. Your mother is an amazing woman.
She's overcome a lot. I've overcome a lot. I don't know that it's always a totally smooth relationship between she and I, but I do really, I love her a great deal, and I'm very happy that over time we become closer, and she's been so supportive through all this. So she and I have never bonded over mermaids, but you know what? Now I know. So maybe I'll have to throw in a few mermaid comments here and there and get her going, right?
Find the new end.
Yeah, that'll be the new end. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I like that. I like it.
So Marco,
Oh, yeah.
Town Hall. I've heard there's something coming up on WHCP by that title. I don't really know a whole lot about it. Apparently, I may be involved in some way, but
yeah.
let's clear this up a little bit. Let's get this out there in the open.
So, on February 3rd, we're going to have our very first Town Hall episode. And what it's going to be is basically a review and report of city hall meetings and town goings-ons and important information, and just a way of connecting the people to our elected officials and letting us see what you guys have going on, all the work you're doing, and ways that we can get involved and be of assistance to the efforts that y'all are putting out. And on this first show, we're gonna have Andrew Bradshaw, Jameson Harrington, and LeJan Cephas. And it'll be moderated by myself and Dave Wooten. And it's going to air at 11 a.m. every first Wednesday of the month on WHCP. And I'm really excited.
Yeah. I'm glad that you've got Dave on there. For those who are listening who don't know, Dave was the mayor of Cambridge from, I believe, 1992 to 2000. And he is a very thoughtful and engaged guy who cares a great deal about this community. He joked that he thought about running again, but maybe he's just a little bit too old for the job, is what he said. I said, "You're only as old as you feel, Dave." And he said, "Well, some days I feel pretty young." Well, I guess I'm gonna have to watch out for you in 4 years, right? But but no, he's I can't think of anyone better to be co-hosting this. He is just, when you talk about people who have seen the best and the worst in the city of Cambridge, there are a few that have a better understanding about what this place has been and can be. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time. LeJan and Jameson are great as well. It's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, just like with the music, I feel it's good for people to be able to see a human side of people that they're accustomed to only coming across through speeches and public forums, and so being more personal and more just out there and transparent with the people, I feel will create a lot more of an understanding within the larger populace of what's going on and who's doing what and how they can help. But then also a better understanding of who you guys are and a better sense of trust. And we talked earlier about like when it comes down to those hard decisions, it's a lot easier for people to be accepting and open when they feel they know the people and they feel that the people that are making those decisions have their best interest at heart. And I think that this will be great for that, getting people to see who you guys are, all the awesome stuff you do outside of just, public policy. You guys you're full-rounded people, and you fight fires, and you listen to Sinatra, and you're doing a lot of cool stuff. And, I think having that sense of connection and openness amongst the people and the boards will create a nice progressive flow for us.
I think that's exactly right. And something I think that has been a problem throughout this city's past is that, people look at their elected officials as the guy that goes to the meeting twice a month and makes a couple of votes. And sometimes you may agree with the vote and sometimes you don't. But in the end, we're all people that live in this community as well. Mm-hmm. And getting an idea about what it is about that person that drove them to run, or about, what makes them care about this particular issue within the city, whether it be, I think we all care a great deal about housing, for example. Why does it matter to this person versus that person? Did you grow up in a circumstance, or did you have family in a circumstance? Have you been exposed to it later in life and seen a lack of fairness at times? All of that, understanding the motivations that led to people to run. It's going to be a hugely important show, and something that's been lacking in Cambridge, especially for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking forward to it. I'm liking that we're going to be able to cycle some of the guests here and there and learn more about everyone. Whether it be LeJan or Jameson, Chad Malkus, Brian Roach, Spuddy Cephas. Mm-hmm. They're all unique and very human people, and being able to see that and learn more about them is going to be hugely important and hugely impactful.
Oh yeah, man. Hey.
So earlier, Mr. Andrew, he asked where DORiS came from. So Marco.
So the show itself, the name, when I was little, there's a radio station, ironically Q101.5. It's not WHCP. This was Delaware. There's a show called Delilah. Mm-hmm. It was Delilah After Dark, but it was Delilah on the radio, and she would have guests call in, and they would tell her about their lives and their situation, and she would play a song for them to go along with that situation. And when I was in college, I was applying for internships and I needed to get some on-air experience. And so when it came down to making a show, I didn't really have any idea of what I wanted to do. And that was the only radio show I kind of knew of was Delilah. And then so the name DORiS, I wrote out some options. I have several aunts, 9. 3 of them, their names start with a D. So I wrote down those names, Doreen, Darlene, and Doris. And I took them to my 2 friends who were my co-hosts at the time, and I said, pick one. And we this is literally the night before we went into the station, and we picked DORiS, and then that's how it happened.
Really?
Yep, literally. I wrote it on a folder and was
but
like,
look,
"Here you
that
go."
is an awesome story, right? You know, you took something like that, and it was sometimes the best names don't have to have any kind, like, you know, I thought maybe there was some kind of it was an acronym or it was some deep thing, and that's better. That is a better story than something else. So.
Yeah, now my aunt Doris, who like, she always says it's named after me. It's named after me. I'm like, yep, there you go. Like it was an overnight decision, and it only was intended to be for a semester, and we didn't think it was going to be going this long, and so the fact that it has just been a blessing.
Look at that, 8 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So
Sometimes the best things happen in life spontaneously.
that's exactly
That's
it.
real, man, and it's like it was organic and it feels good. It just that's where our Who's Doris, that's where that comes from, because that's what everyone kept asking that first season. And I never had an answer. And so that's our website, who'sdoris.com. It's on everything, because that's what everyone kept asking me. And that's been the stick. And that spiel, you know, like a lot with Town Hall or any of the programs we do, it's been about building that connection. Our mission statement is bridging the gaps in the community through music. It's been that since season 1. And that's what I saw that Delilah was doing. And I wanted to find a way to be like her and unite people with music. And I think that's just a cool way. That's the icebreaker. That's the only stipulation I have with all the guests is give me a song that's music that's significant to you. And I just want to learn about what it is that you're listening to and who you are. And it keeps the music fresh. I never know what I'm going to hear. I love that. I love all music. And so it gives me different genres, and I like to be surprised. And it's a cool way people surprise you. And yeah. That's what we got.
It's a great way to add music to your Apple playlist.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. My library is immense, and I am a vigorous consumer of music. I constantly need it to be going, and so that's good for me. Like I am always adding more to it, to the repertoire.
And you know, if you had a new listener who was going, man, this Doris show, I'm sure she's a great host. Like, and then they listen, they're like, man, Doris was smoking a lot of cigarettes back in the day, because Doris's voice is really deep.
You'd be surprised how many people ask me if my name is Doris. They're like, and even after I tell, like, going Marco, they're like, so is that your middle name? Like, what's the Doris? Where'd that come from? I'm like, no, I'm not Doris. It's like, it's just the name of the show. But I think it was awesome, man. This was an awesome episode. It's great to be back, season 8. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
And for sharing your life, your stories, your time, and this awesome Frank Sinatra music.
Yeah.
And tell us who we're going to be closing out with.
So we're going to be closing out with My Way by Sinatra, and that was a song that he released pretty late in his recording career. And it was kind of the capstone, right? You know, the song says, I did it my way. And for me, you know, sometimes the path I've walked has not been the most straight. And what I mean by that is it's not been clear sometimes the direction that life is taking me. But making the decisions and allowing life to play out, and sometimes it's been good and sometimes it's been bad, but it's always been done, been done my way. And, it's gotten us to a point that's led to my being elected mayor of Cambridge, and now it's time for Cambridge to do it Cambridge's way. So